Good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are joining us from. We are here today with Kyle and Steve Haviland. Or I don't know who's first. So I say Steve and then Kyle Haviland. These guys are brothers and they own, well, Steve, you own an MSP, right?
Yep, that's right.
Business Technology Solutions Group.
Yeah, right over here somewhere. Yeah.
Yep, yep, yep. On your left shoulder. But
Yep, there you go.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad we're here today. So you are going to be telling us about a new SaaS product that you came up with. We'll get into that in a minute, but I want to start off by asking you, where are you located?
So we're up in North Texas,
Okay.
just south of the Red River, right by the Panhandle, and
Okay.
so kind of the beginning of the Great Plains. Everything's flat around here.
All right. Well, did you get any bad weather this past weekend?
Well,
Snow and all that?
I tell you what. So I live in Texas for a reason, right? And that
Okay.
reason is because in Texas you shouldn't have to really deal with a whole lot of ice or snow. Well, Mother Nature had a surprise in store for me this weekend because she dumped about 6 inches on my lap, and
Woo.
it we got a lot of ice and a lot of snow on Saturday and Sunday, and here we are Thursday, and it still hasn't all melted. So
Oh,
uh, so
wow.
so yeah, Mother Nature, if you're out there, if you're listening to this, hey, would you please melt all this snow?
Well, I am in South Carolina and we hardly ever see snow. We are lucky if we see a few flurries every year. But suppose, we did get some ice, but it melted by the next morning here. But
I'm
we're
jealous.
supposed to, this weekend, we're supposed to get somewhere between 2 to 6 inches, maybe 7 inches of snow. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. So.
Well, I'm jelly that you don't have to deal with this, and I hope that you don't because it's like ice skating on four wheels, right?
That's right. That's right. My biggest concern is the power. I hope the power stays on. We don't lose power. That's the worst. So
Yeah, that's pretty bad. Get yourself a gas generator, right?
I got one of those. So
Good deal.
awesome. Well, hey Steve, let's jump into Pipsqueak. Is that's the name of it, right?
Yep.
Pipsqueak
So it's
network
Pipsqueak
scanner.
Network Scanner. That's
All
correct.
right. So, most people that have an MSP, they look at their pain points, and a lot of people will generate a new SaaS product to solve them. What problem were you dealing with in your MSP that you wanted to come up with this product?
Yeah. There's a couple of them. Probably the main problem, as I see it, is when you look at the industry and you look at other tools that are out there that might do something similar. They're $1,000 a month, they're $600 a month, they're $1,500 a month. When I came into the industry in 2009 and started my MSP, I bought in. We were using Continuum back
Okay.
then, and you know we were getting a scanning tool through them, and it was just included in the price. Of course, your RMM is your most expensive product or often your most expensive product that you have for your clients. And so, that's 2,500 bucks a month, right? And, we were getting RMM plus the scanning. Later on, when we moved away from Continuum, we had to buy that, and it was 1,500 bucks a month directly out of the box.
Mm,
Well, small MSPs like where I was back then and where a lot of people still are, 1,500 bucks a month is a lot of money. And, you may have 300, 500, even 800 or 1,000 endpoints. That's still a lot of money.
sure.
And oftentimes you're not getting the customer turnover that you need or the customer opportunities that you need to validate that cost, right?
That's
Because
right.
it's a scanner that's existing, right, to get me new business, but um, I'm paying 1,500 bucks a month for it. I'm not getting 1,500 bucks a month in brand new sales, right?
That's right.
That's what's happening. So I looked at that. So that was the number one thing that drove me to this. I'm like, I'm spending a lot of money for not a lot of return, right? And then the second thing was there was a mismatch between what I got from the scanner and what I had to give to the client, right? So if you think about what the client wants, the client doesn't care about all the technical gobbledygook. They
That's
never
right.
have, they never will. What they care about is the warm fuzzy feeling, and if there's not a warm fuzzy feeling, where are the risks and how are we going to address them? That's what they care about.
That's right.
And it could be operational risk, it could be security risk, it could be technical risk, it could be financial risk, but it's risk, right? It's pain and it's risk. So a lot of times we would look at, a report that a tool would generate for us, and it's got all this, it's beautiful. It's got all this technical like layout, right? It's like, oh, well, I understand this and I understand that, but the business owner doesn't. And so as I grew and I started to hire people, they were like, I don't understand this. Can you translate this geek speak into what I care about?
Sure.
And that took sometimes hours of time. Well, time is money, as the old cliche goes, right? And it is, so that would take hours of time, either of my time or of one of my key text time, my lead text time, to translate what was on that paper for the salesperson. And then the salesperson has to go and remember all that to translate it again to the end customer, or I have to send a sales engineer kind of role with the salesperson.
Seems like a
So
lot
I
of
wanted
wasted time.
it's a lot of wasted time, and so I wanted to move away from that as well, right? So that was the next major pain point to solve, was like, how do we present in such a way that how do we present this data in such a way that it's meaningful to the client, it's meaningful to the salesperson, without getting bogged down in the technical details of it all. Now, if you're dealing with a technical founder, right, you may want that. But a lot of times we're not dealing with technical founders. We're dealing with people in manufacturing or veterinary or dental or medical or legal or financial CPA. And they care about what they're experts in. They don't care about what we're experts in.
That's
So
true.
those were the two big things, right, that I wanted to address with the tool.
All right. Well, so is the tool more of a pre-sales tool, a delivery tool, or both?
Pipsqueak Network Scanner is primarily right now a pre-sales tool.
Okay.
So when you think about you're going to go into a client site and you need to be able to present a report that is meaningful to that client, right? And that is going to be meaningful to you or your salesperson. Um, we have the ability to not only run the scan, but we have a report builder that uses templated reports or custom built reports that you can build inside the tool to be able to communicate that value to the customer. And so if you are, you can really tune the report because of the custom report builder to what your customers are looking for. So it's largely pre-sales. We do also internally use it for QBR, because we find that the pre-sales tool where we're showing risk is also the same tool that we can use for QBR to say, look, these are the things that are still on your plate or that you're thinking about doing, 6 months from now, and we can include that in the report. And then these are the things that we've done for you. Check mark, check mark, check mark, right? And that helps us to really show value during a QBR. That the old thing like, everything's working. Why do I even pay you guys? Everything's
Uh-huh.
broken. Why do I even pay you guys, right? Um, it really helps to kind of explain, well, look, you're paying us because we did do all this work. And we did deliver this value to your business, right? So that's what is now in the future, in the near future, because we have our roadmap published on our website. So in the near future, one of the things that we're doing is we're going to be really bringing Pipsqueak to the operational side of the house. Right now, it's very strong on the sales side. We're bringing it to the operational side of the house, and we're aligning some of the scanning with CIS benchmarks
Okay.
for basic infrastructure, as well as the CIS benchmarks for M365. And we're really going to be targeting drift detection and things like that. So the goal will be that we'll be able to spot changes, because change management, as we all know, is like the number one thing that causes our trucks to roll and our phones to ring,
Yep.
right? That's like the thing. So if we can get ahead of that drift, if we can, do proactive change detection, then we can get ahead of that. And we can also, put in controls to remediate automatically and things like that. So that's coming. It's on
Awesome.
our roadmap. It's not here yet. Right now, we're really strong on the pre-sales and sales side, and we're building the future to be also be able to be used on the operational side.
Well, did you correct the problem you had with previous scanning tools that you used where it gave a lot of geek speak? Does that fixed in Pipsqueak? Does Pipsqueak dumb it down for the non-technical crowd?
I like to think so. Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I was kind of Byzantine about in the development process for Pipsqueak was that I wanted the graphs and the diagrams and visualizations to just be just really, really easy to understand.
Sure.
And so and then, taking that and then combining that with our custom report builder that allows the MSP to tailor the report to the client versus having like this canned report that you're always going to use for the client. Those two things combined help, the MSP, not just us, it does help me tremendously because I built my custom templates that I have, and we roll with those custom templates, for different clients. Like we have the semi-technical template, and then we have the absolutely non-technical template, so forth and so on. Um, but you can customize your templates, right? So if I know that I'm walking into a client that has absolutely no experience with IT, I've got a template for that, right? My visualizations are easy, and I can put in whatever I need to put in to do the translation. I can do that once and then have it used many, many, many other times. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah. So, how does Pipsqueak turn technical data into something the client can understand then?
So we focus on findings
Okay.
versus just metrics and telemetry and logging and stuff like that, right? So, wavy lines, 2012. We're a young MSP and we're using a different scanning tool. I won't mention the name, but it starts with an R. And anyway, so we're using this tool and we get a report out and it says, okay, I scanned FSMO. Okay. I scanned Active Directory. I scanned users and computers. I scanned, so forth and so on. I scanned network shares. And so the client looks at this as like, what is FSMO? Well, well, let me explain FSMO to you, right? So instead, we don't do that. What we do instead is we say, okay, our findings are that that your oldest computer is 3 years out of date, from its warranty. Like that's a real business risk, right? We'll say you have 30 users that still have accounts on your Azure Active Directory that aren't actual employees here anymore, right? You have these accounts still there. You have this device sitting out on your network that's completely unmanaged that you don't know about, right? Shadow IT, whether that device was added in as a unmanaged switch because someone needed an extra port or someone fired up a access point that no one knows about, right? We're going to find that on your network. So, you know, being able to um, being able to bring those things together, that's what we're trying to do. Um, we're trying to spot those risks, those specific risks, and bring them in as findings, like we found this thing versus we scanned this and this is the raw output in a table.
Right. So, what are some things that are commonly uncovered that surprise MSPs during the Pipsqueak scan?
Yeah, so maybe I foreshadowed this a little bit when I talked about shadow IT, right? But I think about that a lot because it's one of the things that I think is kind of trending in the industry right now. People are recognizing more and more that they've got these issues with change control and shadow IT. And, it's nothing new, especially on the SMB side, right? That the client, doesn't call you. They just go to Sam's Club and they buy, a little 5-port switch and they plug it in because they needed 3 extra ports, right? Whatever. Um, and that stuff happens. But then who gets the call when the port doesn't work? We do.
IT.
Yeah, we get the call. And so we're like, your where plugged into what? Huh?
I don't even know that it
So
bytes existed.
exactly. And I've been bit by that before. I'm sure you have too, right?
Sure.
So this is what we're trying to these are the types of things that we're going to try and detect. We use a variety of methods to detect them. And actually, this is something really, really cool. We're working very hard to improve device fingerprinting right now. It's one of our major goals, is to improve our device fingerprinting within the product. And we've partnered with some folks out at NASA. And
Wow.
to it's a program called SATOP. If you haven't heard of it, it's a national
Okay.
program. But we partnered with some people out at NASA as well as some people in academia to be able to solve the kind of the IoT device fingerprinting problem. Because there's a real problem out there, right? If you think about IoT and device fingerprinting, well, sure, I can pick up a Mac, but guess what? That Mac will tell me that the NIC card was made by Broadcom.
Right.
It doesn't tell me that the device is a or a thermostat, or the device is, a smart speaker. It doesn't tell me any of that. It just tells me, like, what the NIC is. So how
Then
do
it's a
you
guessing game.
exactly? And you don't always know where the device is or what's going on, right? So we're working with SATOP to be able to really improve our device fingerprinting so that we can be one of the first products to market that will really dig deep and understand those things about IoT.
That's awesome because I've spent a lot of time going and looking at MAC addresses and then going online trying to go to MAC address lookup sites and see if you can
Mhm.
find the vendor and determine what the heck is this that's connected to the network?
Exactly,
Is it
exactly.
a threat? Does it need to be on the main network with client data or a guest network that's isolated on a VLAN?
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
yep, awesome. So, what makes Pipsqueak different from other network scanning tools? There's a ton of other network scanning tools. What makes Pipsqueak different, other than the
Well,
device fingerprinting that you guys just spoke about?
well, I think that there's a couple of things. The number one thing, like, when we think about problems that we solve for MSPs, right?
Mhm.
So problems that I solve for my own MSP by doing this project, problems that I believe it'll solve for other MSPs. I think about the price issue, right? Because again, you're spending $600 or $1,000 or $1,500 a month for a scanning tool, right? Well, Pipsqueak Community Edition is free for those small MSPs.
Wait, say that again for the people in the back.
Yeah, Pipsqueak Community Edition. We have a community edition of the product.
Okay,
Pipsqueak Community Edition is 100% free.
okay.
The scanner, you can go on to the scanner, free. You can upload to the website, free, and it will give you a report, free. Um, so, smaller, like people just starting out, they can use it, they can try it, they can scan, um, and it's going to return some good data. It's primarily going to focus on things like AD and just network discovery, but it's going to return some good data. And then we've got our paid product, and our paid product is significantly lower than a lot of our competitors. So I think that that's a major difference. And of course, everyone can compete on price, but then we've got our roadmap, right? So we've got our roadmap where we're going to enable you on the sales side, and that's what we're doing right now. And we're going to enable you on the report building side, which most network scanners, you're going to send the report off for 24 or 48 hours, and then you're going to get something back. Um, and you don't know what's happening to that data. You just know that you're sending it somewhere, and then you're having to wait a couple of days, and then it's coming back. Or, the other side of that is they're going to give you a report, but it's an absolutely canned report. And, you can bring it into Word if you want, and, but we all have fought that battle of customizing the Word, the Word document, which is a huge pain in the rear as well. So,
Sure.
we've got a report builder built in that is something that a lot of other people don't have. And then I think so price, customization, and then we're talking about bringing this into the operational realm, right? So that we can do real-time change control, and we can also do real-time detection, over scanning without agents.
Very nice. So, Steve, you mentioned the free version, you mentioned the paid version. What
Yeah.
is the big difference in the two? What does the paid version give you that the free community version does not?
Yeah. So when we looked at, what we could give away for free versus what we had to pay for, we have to pay for the right to use a lot of APIs, right? So if you think about Graph API and tying into Azure and 365, we had to pay Microsoft a little bit for that, so we had to recoup that money. And then when you think about like have I been pawned and using dark web APIs and things like that. So anytime we had to use an API, we said that was going to be on the paid side, right? And then we also looked at things that were probably a little bit more higher value in the market, like PII scanning. So we use Presidio for that, the library, Presidio,
Okay.
and uh, and plug that in. And so that's on the paid side as well. So free, you're going to get Class C network scanning, so up to /24. Um, you're going to be so you can do /30 to /24 all in, no problem.
So scan the
Um,
land.
yep, scan the network. And you're going to be able to do Active Directory scanning, right?
Okay.
And then you're also going to be able to do local host scanning, which is going to do some things like pick apart your browser cache to determine if you're leaking passwords and things like that. So that's what you're going to get in the free side. Then everything else, the PII scanning, the 365 scanning, the have I been pawned and dark web stuff, as well as some other custom scanning functions, and the report builder and things like that are going to be on the paid side of things.
Okay. Well, no, thanks for explaining that because, it seems, sometimes you just need a network discovery tool
That's
just to
right.
go out and get an IP address, get a MAC address. So it sounds like the free version will do that. But if you want to discover and get more visibility into your client's complete environment with Office 365, all those other things, Azure, then you need to get the paid version to get that visibility.
That's right. And one of the things that I want to call out is, we are early in our SaaS journey. Like, there's no doubt about it. We're a very early SaaS company, and so when you think about Pipsqueak Network Scanner being early, we're going to reward that. And so right now, until the end of February, we're doing a $99 lifetime subscription. So $99 a month for the lifetime of your subscription, and that is a discount from where we're going to be priced after that of $250 a month. So that's a very significant discount. But that's kind of what we're thinking in terms of our founders edition, because we want to reward those people who are helping us build this thing.
Awesome, awesome. And it's always great to be included in the Founders Edition as well of any great product. So, well, listen, how easy is it to get started with Pipsqueak?
So, we tried to make this a really easy thing. You go onto the website, pipsqueaknetscan.com. Hit register. You're going to automatically be brought into the free version workflow. So you're going to be able to get the free version, right, immediately. And then the free version will say, hey, you're on the free version. Would you like to upgrade? And if you do, just click yes. You'll be brought to the subscription page, and it's just that easy.
Awesome. And anybody watching this that takes advantage of Pipsqueak Network Scanner, please, if you reach out and talk to Steve or Kyle, who's on the call as well with us,
Mhm.
let them know that you heard about Pipsqueak from IT Business Owners Group. I do have one final question. I
Yeah.
love the name, by the way, but how did you come up with Pipsqueak Network Scanners? Little mouse icon. It's really cool.
Yeah, um, when we first conceived of this project, and we built it for ourselves, and then as we thought about monetizing it and what that would look like, and the infrastructure we'd have to invest in, but we also realized like this is a brand new business and we're going to be the little guy out there. We don't know anything about SaaS. We've been in MSP since 2009. So we're the little guy. Who's still learning and kind of still feeling their way around and nibbling on cheese in the corner,
The
and that
Pipsqueak.
it just seemed to fit, right? Um, so that was kind of the idea. Like we are the pipsqueak, but the thing about pipsqueaks are that they are typically that they're small but mighty, and
Yep.
that's kind of how I like to think about it, right? Really the other inspiration was Mighty Mouse, right? Because there's a lot of MSPs that are in that same, space. They're small but mighty,
Yep.
and they're who we want to work with.
Awesome. Well, Kyle, do you have anything you want to share? You've been quiet in the corner the whole time.
Yeah, I want to say Stephen came up with that branding, and uh, him and I went through several different versions of that logo, and we finally settled on that, mostly because it really pushes that message of small but mighty. And I have to admit, I give him a lot of credit for coming up with that idea, but it definitely fits. And guys, we've worked really hard to produce this product. We're doing it not just for us, but we want to be able to share it to the community. And I really hope you guys at least take advantage of the community version and get some use out of it. If it helps just a small group of us, it's performed its base function, and it's met our first primary goal of just creating a very useful SaaS product. So
Very
I
cool.
hope you all enjoyed the speech by Steve and the webinar, and I hope to talk to you soon.
Sounds great. Steve, I want to go back to you one last time. I'm going to give you a opportunity. I believe you are also involved in addition to Pipsqueak. You know,
Mhm.
you call this the community scanner, the community version. Tell us, or am I right that you also have an IT community that you are starting up as well?
Yeah, I do, and thank you for that.
Yeah.
Um, So we have a community on the school platform, skool.com. And we call it MSP School, skool.com, right? So mspschool.com, and you'll go right there. You'll see a horrible video of me kind of, up there going, talking head style, going what it's about. But one of the things, a lot like you, I got to thinking, Scott, I'm like, it sometimes it can cost a lot of money to learn from other people. And I've been through my share of coaching programs in this industry, you know, and not to name any names, but you'd pay $250 for one, or you'd pay $500 a month for the other one, or you'd pay 750. Sometimes you pay $1,500 a month for one, or more. And not to take pop shots at anyone, but again, especially for a small, for smaller guys, that can really add up and it can really impact our bottom line. So I want to create MSP School, a lot like, I imagine when you started with IT Business Owners Group, as a place for people to come and to learn. We've uploaded a ton of education material there, everything from like how to do lead generation as an MSP, to how to do cold outreach as an MSP, to how to set your goals. Like a lot of people, they're working for, whomever, and they have this entrepreneurial spasm and they're like, I'm going to go and work on my, to create my own business. And it's like, okay, well, now you've got your business, how do you align that to capture what you want to do, instead of just really working for 15 bosses, or 16 or 30 or 100 bosses, right? How do you change that from a job with multiple bosses into an actual business, right?
Yep.
And we've all been through that journey. Anyone who's run a business for any amount of time has been through that journey. So there's training there that will help you. And then we built a community. Again, that community is small but mighty too. We started it back in October, so it's been growing. And yeah, we would love for you guys to come and join us there. It's completely free. So go mspschool.com, sign up, and we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what your pain points are, and if they're like our pain points, maybe help you solve them.
And is it school SKOOL or S?
mspschoolskool.com.
Okay. All right. Perfect. Awesome. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time today. I've learned an awful lot about Pipsqueak Network Scanner and the new community that you started. So congrats on that. And any way that I can help you in the future, let me know. And stay safe this weekend.
Well, Scott, it has been a pleasure talking to you, and I just want to say, we're looking forward to working with you all year long to talk about Pipsqueak and to be part of the community. So thank you for having
Awesome.
us.
Thank you for being a guest today. I appreciate it. Y'all are welcome, and I hope y'all enjoy.